This is a Radical Rant podcast. Hello one and all, after a long hiatus, a Edge-like retirement, I would say. The Radical Wrestling Podcast is back. So Joe and Liam both here. Joe from an extended hiatus because apparently, as an American, he's just too good to be hanging out with two Canadians every week, I guess. How you doing, Joe?
I'm good, man. Thank you. Yeah. No, I got really sick of all the maple syrup talk, so I decided to. No, school's pretty busy right now, so unfortunately I don't have as much time to talk wrestling and talk shop as I'd like to. But I'm glad to be back.
We'll see how long that feeling lasts.
Yeah.
And then we also got Liam here. How you doing, buddy?
Like NWO 2000, Adam, where the band is back together, baby.
Well, it's like I said, it's been quite some time. I want to say it's been like at least a month. So, with that being said, we thought it'd be a good idea to not necessarily go through every show, but at least brush off of the things that were mostly important. The first immediate question, because it falls right as the first show that we would have missed at that point, was the cruise. So, immediate thoughts. What did you guys think of the show being on the cruise itself? It was definitely an interesting new outlook, being that it wasn't in an arena like it normally is.
Yeah. I don't know. I personally liked it a lot. I thought, like you said, since it was new, definitely felt new and definitely felt, more exciting in that sense, if that makes sense. I thought the matches themselves, with the exception of a couple, I was okay with I was kind of relatively ambivalent towards the matches. There's nothing that really stands out to me unless I'm just not thinking about it.
Well, there was a bit of a downside going in because since the place was so small, there weren't going to be a lot of outside dives, so
right.
you weren't getting a full thing. So a lot of the match was going to be contained in the ring this time around.
Right, which I didn't really mind. It's just that for whatever reason, none of the matches, except for Hangman Page and Kenny Omega winning the tag titles. Besides that, I didn't really feel like there was I don't know. It was just aside for the fact that it was, this is cool. This is on a cruise ship.
Yeah, I know. I thought it looked great on TV, and I think despite how windy it was, they did a good job with the production, keeping the sound pretty crisp. I liked a lot of those matches. Well, and obviously, the Moxley Pac match was great for the number one contendership. The Bucks throwing MJF in the pool was a good laugh spot.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think. One of the better matches that I saw from it, and obviously the video quality wasn't as good, it was on the cruise, but not on that episode of Dynamite, was the Kenny Omega and Riho against Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford match, which was pretty good.
Oh, the one that I think it was on Dark 2 weeks later.
They put it on YouTube a little while later, but it's weird handheld video quality, but it's actually a really good match if anyone hasn't checked it out. Yeah.
I actually liked it a lot more because there wasn't commentary to it.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool. You can hear them yelling at each other and teasing each other.
Yeah, exactly. So it almost brought more of a you were actually there kind of feel to it.
Yeah. And I liked the Jericho and the Proud and Powerful against the Jurassic Express. That was a good match too. And Jericho, the cool moment that was the first moment where he comes out and everyone's singing his entrance theme, which obviously they've continued doing on a week.
Yeah, that was.
And now it's a
thing. So
he's become Nakamura. Otherwise, as I go through stuff, so the only immediate thing obviously was the title change. Were you guys shocked to see that was actually the first title to actually switch, and with those two being the guys to do it?
I was completely I think I was shocked for part of it. I was shocked that that was the title that they switched, but knowing, if you watch BTE, kind of knowing that it seems like they're going for the tag team that doesn't get along, and then that eventually ends up breaking the Elite kind of up, which is kind of seems like the direction they've been hinting at towards going for quite some time now. I'd say that it made sense for them too. It seemed very random, and them, I don't know if I buy them as a tag team for whatever reason. They just don't feel like a cohesive unit, except for that I do like their kind of their finishing move with the buckshot lariat V-trigger combo. I think looks devastating.
It looks like a fantastic finish too.
Yeah. But yeah, for whatever reason, they just feel kind of odd to me. But maybe that's intentional.
Some of it is the storyline, right? That they act deliberately awkward towards each other. And I felt like you at the beginning of it, when they started doing it in December. But I actually quite like them as a tag team now, I must say. And maybe it was them winning the belts where it felt like it became real, but like, especially with the match this week that obviously we're going to talk about in a bit, but like every pairing they've had since, I like them as a duo. I also loved when they won the belts and Hangman like is getting crowd surfed on the boat, and then he just then he does the tweet where he's like,
that was cool.
"Carry me out to sea and drown me in waves of cold beer."
It really is crazy thinking about that. This is a guy that a lot of people in the first like 3 months were sitting there being like, man, like this Adam Page guy, I don't know what the hype is about. And now, like not even a full 3 months after that, people are like, man, he's like the most over guy in the fucking company
they love
right
him.
now.
Like people run to ringside to give him the beers and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, like Adam, you and I were talking about this last week before we smashed headlong into technical difficulties. But like, he's like, this has definitely reinvigorated him. I think it's given Kenny, some interesting stuff to do as well, because obviously like, there's a lot of good tag teams, and then you put two very good singles wrestlers and give them this purpose. It's created some of the better matches we've seen on these shows.
Yeah.
And in a way, it also gives these two something to do rather than just kind of sit in the background like they had been for a little while.
No, exactly. Drifting from opponent to opponent.
I agree with all of that, honestly. I think, yeah.
After that, there was a dark that got a lot out of the way and a surprise at the same time. Obviously, the one we're talking about is like you mentioned earlier, Liam, the mixed tag match. I'll start with that just because it's a good way to go about it. A lot of people were nervous about it going in because when they heard it was happening on the cruise, they're thinking, "Oh no, like it's going to be a disaster." By the time I watched that match, I said, "Man, if every mixed tag match in AEW is that, there's nothing they can do wrong with that." Because everything was even. The women took bumps. The women took a couple of good shots at the men too. Like they weren't acting like one was over the other. They weren't making the women look weak. They weren't making the men look stupid. Like every bump that the women dished out to the guys made sense. It wasn't just a matter of her like suddenly picking them up and doing like some crazy like Batista like power move. It was mostly kicking the shit out of them, literally.
Yeah, or a big drop kick comes out of nowhere, or the knees come out of nowhere. Or Penelope hit that Hurricane Rana that she like absolutely kills every time she does it.
Like the closest one you could make fun of is Riho doing a Snapdragon on Kip, but at the same time Kip is pretty light himself in terms of the guys, so it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, no, I think more people were baffled when she did it to Nyla Rose last week. But I will say this, I mean, I think Riho takes a lot of shit, and I think like that match against Nyla last week, even though she lost the belt, and this tag match there on the cruise and whatnot, 2020, she's really stepped up her game wrestling-wise, I thought, like in that
and
fatal
she's
four-way.
still super young, which is
exactly.
what makes it crazy.
All the time in the world to get better, right? I imagine we're not going to see her for a while on TV now, in lieu of what happened last week. But like that fatal four-way on New Year's Day, the cruise, and then the match against Nyla, I think she's upped her game big time.
And speaking of Snapdragons, Penelope took a hell of a one from Kenny. So props to her for looking good in that,
that
too.
looked brutal. That looked brutal.
And the fact that he let it sit, too, like, he held her for a good, 5-10 seconds just to let it sink that, oh, shit, is he going to actually do it?
Yeah. It was very good. I kind of like you guys were talking about earlier. I like the kind of, I don't know if found footage is the right word for it, but it almost felt...
It feels like a dirty little secret, right?
Found
Like you're not
footage.
supposed to be watching it, and you're watching it.
Honestly,
Yeah,
it
right.
had an indie feel to it, which I kind of liked.
Yeah. No, it was very well done.
But yeah, that wasn't the only thing on the show. We had the dismantling of the Nightmare Collective on the same episode of Dark. We had we had Awesome Kong, who we're assuming is going back to film Glow at this point.
That's what's been said.
Somehow being the one that was actually turned on, which was bizarre. But I mean, realistically, nothing they could have done would have saved it. So I mean, to make it as confusing as possible, I guess doesn't make a difference. It does the more important thing of getting rid of a group that just wasn't working. And it also shows that this is a company that is actually taking a look at what they're doing and not just being stubborn as shit and going, nope, we're going to push this for 2 years to see if it can work.
What is rather unfortunate is that it completely ruined Mel and Luther, who I could not give a shit about now.
Well, Luther's been doing this. He did a weird promo the other day trying to recruit Jimmy Havoc, so that might be a curious thing.
That could be. It was what? He's a deathmatch guy, Luther,
Yes,
right?
by reputation.
I mean, Havoc,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Havoc falls into that category as well, so it does make sense. But you're right about Mel. Mel is the one that kind of just gets the real shaft, although from the few matches that I've seen of her, I don't think it was really much of a loss.
She shaved her head for nothing.
I mean, she probably got a decent contract from it.
I imagine. Her wrestling was pretty good, actually, because she did a singles match on Dark at one point against Sheeta, I think, that was pretty good.
That was that match.
So now they have to retool her. Yeah.
I mean, from what I saw of her, like, I don't hate her. Like, it's not the same way that I was with Allie, but with Mel, I was just like, man, like, you've got size and you're not really using that well either. Like, it looks like she's just really stiff in the ring, and I don't mean stiff as hard punches. It just looks like she doesn't move very much.
Yeah, she's wooden. I think, yeah, like I said, I think that she's been relatively ruined unless they somehow do something. I just don't
needs
care.
to go away for a while. That's a stink that's going to take probably at least till the summer to get rid of.
Yeah. Or after Double or
And
Nothing.
if she does something
like
spectacular.
That,
Yeah, like if they do like a women's battle royal, you can have her come back in that maybe as the Joker, assuming they keep that format, and you could just have her come out with like obviously with hair properly back on her head and maybe a different look, but
even if they do that, I don't know if anyone's gonna give a shit about her.
It depends on how she looks. If they do some creepy like vignettes before it,
yeah, right.
If they build it up with vignettes and stuff, you might be able to pull something off.
Yeah,
or just put a mask on her.
They've been able to remake people. I mean, look no further than Britt Baker, right? They've been able to retool people in this division. It's sometimes on a dime, as quickly as that one happened, and some might be longer projects, but we shall see. But I think no one will weep tears at the demise of the Nightmare Collective, including the people that were in it, because Brandy has gone sprinting back to her old role at the speed of light. So.
Yeah.
I mean, even she commented too, like, she understood it just wasn't working out. Like, it's something that she was really thrilled about trying, but for whatever reason it wasn't clicking, and they had to understand that.
Yeah, well, and they kind of slow burned it, right? Because they didn't bring Mel and Luther in until, like, the near end of it. And, I mean, to your point, and the point that other people have made elsewhere, I mean, good on them for having to calling a spade and shutting it down rather than... Because it was taking heat. It was the thing that everybody liked the least, and you could see that on Twitter, and you could see that in the arenas and whatnot. So,
and it didn't help too because it accentuated just how dry the women's division had been for a while too. So,
they didn't end up doing anything serious. Right? They didn't contend for the belt. They were just beating people up and taking hair and slowly getting bigger. But it didn't seem to have any greater direction than that. And then, around the time of the, as I think we discussed on here, around the time of the match with Statlander, the Riho Statlander match is when we all got fed up with it because they just fucked up the ending to that with like no payoff, right?
Yeah.
So exactly. It was bleeding into the effort to make other stars.
I just a quick. We don't want to get too off track, but what I think the biggest thing that they fucked up on in there, and this is something that they've kind of been struggling with a little bit, but having getting better at, is when Luther and Mel debuted. Nobody has any clue who these two people are, but you're making this deal like it's this big surprise attack. And granted, you can do that from time to time, right, with the relative unknown, but for whatever reason, it didn't click. And I think that's where.
And sometimes
like,
it'll work. Like obviously, the Shield worked in WWE because it was so out of nowhere. But if you don't do it in the right moment, it just doesn't make sense. And that's kind of what it was with the collective. Like, same with the Butcher and the Blade. Everything could have made sense if he did it in the right way, but because it seemed random than it did like premeditated, like something was happening. It just doesn't work out.
Yeah, like people in the arena didn't know who they are, but I think like the Butcher and the Blade thing mostly took heat just for the fact that like no one except Excalibur knew who they were, so everyone made a joke out of it.
So it become a Butcher and the Blade thing again, all over again.
But I'm biased because I'm a big fan, but I would dare say that the Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny have redeemed themselves adequately.
They've been better.
So,
I think they need to change their fucking tights because I don't like the fact that the Butcher has a cartoon fucking knife on his ass, which is a little bit weird.
Nah.
I'd rather you just have nothing on it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like the Gimp mask or whatever, but it's a good. I don't know. I love them, man. I think.
The Gimp mask is fine. It just looks really cartoony that he has a fucking butcher knife on his ass.
I feel bad. I missed out because they used to come to C4 in Ottawa all the time, and I don't think they will as much now because obviously Andy Williams, the Butcher, is also the guitarist in Every Time I Die, so he's on tour when he's not doing wrestling. But they were in Ottawa a lot, and I'm sad I missed them by like 5 or 6 months because they're like now one of my favorite teams in AEW. I think that whole gimmick kicks ass, man. I love their theme song.
Their
it goes
theme
so fucking hard.
Fucking hot, man.
Their pyro is good.
It's good.
And they're physical. You know, like the funny thing is Braxton Sutter, the Blade, is the guy who's been wrestling for like 20 years. Andy Williams has only been wrestling for 4 years, but he looks like a pro, right? And he's got the
good,
size.
yeah,
Like,
he
and they
does.
use him appropriately. Right? Like he takes bumps
Well,
for
yeah,
smaller guys.
he's got a crazy look though. It's such a unique look too, with the fucking like he's got the Simon Gotch level mustache, but it's thick. He's got the monocle. Like he looks different than anybody else, and that's the shit you need. If you're an unknown, that's the shit you need to get over, because if people don't know who you are, they at least will remember how you fucking look.
Yeah.
But as a straight male, the one thing I want more of is the bunny. I have not seen enough bunny. She's been coming out and doing fucking nothing. Why can't the bunny
watch
wrestle?
New Japan. You'll get a good bunny in New Japan.
Really?
I think she's done some good spots. Because like when they were at the Bash at the Beach against Dustin Rhodes, she did the gold dust, like running her hands up her chest, and then slapped him in the face. And then this week she went up and flirted with Orange Cassidy.
Didn't she knock out Orange Cassidy or something?
Yeah, she kicked him in the balls, like after she like kind of like flirted with him, so it was good. Like,
I have short-term memory.
I mean, they're keeping her out of the ring, which in my opinion is a good idea.
Yeah, well, fair enough. I can't. So the other thing is, I can't remember an alley match because she had like 2 or 3 right at the beginning, but that was around. They were all before All In, so I actually haven't seen her wrestle to date in AEW.
They're pretty rough. That's all I'll say about that.
Did you want to cover anything else pre this week's Dynamite before we move on?
Let's see. Obviously, Sakazaki came back. That was a thing. I'm just happy to see her back. It looks like she might be a Revolution from a video that was posted recently, so she might be doing something there. The 10 lashes would be one of the immediate things I can come up with. The 10 lashes for sure.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
I thought it was going to be dumb, and I think we all thought like, okay, we have to kind of wait and see what they do with it. Now that they did it, I'm like, okay, I get it.
I hate to say that I told you so, but if you run the tape back, I believe when we were discussing that, I said this will look better on TV than it sounds at the moment.
Yeah, and I figured it would too, but again, it's just one of those things where it's like it's only 10.
Yeah. No, they did a good job with
I mean, he sold the fuck out of them. And the one that Wardlow gave him just made me cringe. I'm like, oh,
that
was
was
awesome.
awesome.
The back of the head.
Yeah.
Wardlow stops MJF, takes the vest off, and it's good, right? Because they're going to fight each other in the ring the week after or 2 weeks later. So like it helps build heat for that too. And like MJF, like after the second or the third one, and Cody turns around and gets in his face, and he's just like, "Hit me, hit me!" Like the psychology of it was so good.
Yeah.
It was so well executed.
And didn't they have a little bit of a weird spot where I think it was Kazarian who like ran after the guys, and no one told him that he was actually supposed to get to MJF, but he did.
Yeah,
so they kind of just had to.
You see him jump, like he jumps them right at the end. Yeah, he's wearing a toque and like a shirt, but you can tell he's got trunks on. And they're trying to say whether it was someone in the crowd. JR's like, I don't know what the hell that was, because they cut away from it really fast. It lasts like a second, but it's weird. Yeah.
Well, they were smart enough to notice that it was something that was worth cutting away from, so they could make it seem like MJF was even more hateable, that fans were attacking him. So it was a smart thought process by whoever was directing that.
Well, the best one they ever did that for that was the plant that threw the beer on him right after he had turned on Cody at Full Gear.
Yeah,
that.
It's tougher when it's more dangerous to do a fan attacking you in the crowd, because like then you don't know if it's going to create an effect where somebody else thinks like, oh, I'm going to take a, like it's more dangerous, but it's
right. Yeah.
Anyway, they didn't need it, but it was right at the end, so it didn't matter. It didn't take away from the rest of the segment. And you had Dustin coming out being like, I'll take the lashes for him. No, that's not how this works. Brandy coming down at the end, redeeming her babyface character. I love you. Hang in there. You're almost there. It was, and then the best part was, of course, that I didn't fully predict. But, then MJF is legitimately worried, right? He's legitimately pissed off. He's like, oh, fuck, this match now actually might have to happen.
He's mad now because it's like... And then we'll get to it again, but the cage match, I'm like, I thought he just had to survive. I didn't think it was actually he had to win, so even then MJF's like, shit. And now that he's won, I mean, obviously the end of the show was the same deal. Like, just that look of, oh, fuck, I'm screwed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's literally like lying down on the ramp at the end of the cage match. Like, oh God, yeah, and it's dawning on him.
He looked like he'd seen a fucking ghost.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I mean, he probably saw his own ghost because he's about to fucking die. But
all right, well, we'll get there. So,
otherwise, as I keep scrolling down, there was a dark match between Ryo and Shoko Nakajima that I thought was fantastic.
Oh yeah, there were 2 good women's matches on that show, because there was that one, and then there was Cassandra Golden against Sheeta. Those were both pretty good.
That one was pretty good, just for a sense of Sheeta doing a good comeback babyface role for sure.
Yeah, that was a good dark, actually. And on that, there was also Jurassic Express. There was Marco and Jungle Boy against the Dark Order on that, which I thought was a very good tag match.
What else? As we get to the week before, I believe, on Dynamite, that's when we start seeing Santana really got fought. Like, Santana is a guy that if they turn them heel or face, Santana is going to be a massive Latin star with his promo capability. Because good lord,
my God.
he had so much fire the last 2 weeks after Moxley took his eye out, and then the following week when he said, "Okay, we're fighting."
Yeah.
That promo last week was unbelievable. I'm sure we'll get to it later, but
Well, I mean, we're at it now because we're at that
doing-
show.
Yeah, we'll run through that. Yeah,
Oh,
we'll run through
okay,
that
okay.
quick.
Like we'll
Yeah,
get to the
one he
match
did with
itself as
JR
well,
was
but
good.
yeah,
The one he did the week before, like right after it had been gouged out, like all three of them were.
just pure anger. It looks so good.
And my favorite was that he had the staying on brand. He had the Puerto Rican flag as his eye patch.
At that point, too, same show. Nyla Rose obviously becoming the new women's champion. I think they really need to now mess with that belt because it looks way too small on her.
Yeah, blow
Yeah.
up the front plate a little bit. Yeah.
Like, I thought originally that was just a placeholder belt because Rio was going to win it, so they needed a smaller one. Now I'm like, oh shit, is they actually sticking with that title as its current size? Because that's not going to work. It looks like a
it
toy.
looks dumb. It looks like a toy, yeah.
That was a good match.
Like I don't mind the design. Like people shit on the design. I don't mind the design.
No, I like the
design's
rose
fine.
gold
It's
plate.
just
It
the
looks
fact that
good. Yeah,
it's just small.
I liked that match. I found I think we've said.
I ate so much crow from watching that match because I'm like, man, that was fucking really good.
Yeah.
I'm happy for Nyla. I thought they should have put it on her in the first place. I get that they did the run with Rio, and Rio had a good run. She had some good matches, but like
I think they were smart in that they already gave the world champion to a heel, so give the faces some stuff to do, so the fans at least have something to cheer for a little while.
yeah, that's a good point. I would concede that, but I'm happy that like she's now had the redemption. She went on the rampage. She started doing all the table spots. She's had some other good matches. I'm excited to see her. I'm excited to see her run. And once it became established that they were going to use Awesome Kong as the monster heel at the head of the division, I think Nyla fills that role very nicely.
Well, it's just the only thing you would have hoped is that she had gotten a little bit better because the first few times I'd seen her, I'm like, okay, I can see the potential, but you got a lot of work to do. This match told me, okay, no, if you're in the ring with somebody who can go to, no, you'll be more than just fine.
Yeah. And I thought like Rio did well in this match too. She hit that Snapdragon, she hit the running knees like she always does. She ran across, like when Nyla was setting up a table on the outside, she ran across the table and drop kicked her in the face, which was great.
Yeah.
No, that was a very good match. And then, of course, the big news right after that was Jericho brings in Jeff Cobb.
Well, even before that, they had
yeah.
her walking backstage and talking to, and you can see everybody just fucking like can't stand her.
Yeah, that
So
was
the idea too that like, I love the fact that also she's a champion that even in her size, even in her dominance, everybody is looking at her being like, no, fuck you, I want to take that title off you.
Yeah.
Instead of it being like, oh, they fear her. No, they want to kick her ass because she's a prick.
Yeah, and they don't.
Yeah.
They fucked that segment up though because they did it in picture on the night. Like you can watch it on YouTube now, and it's actually a good segment. She says to Kenny, like,
Oh, was it actually picture in picture? Oh
Yeah.
shit, I guess the feed that I got was
so there was
good.
no like I like the first time I watched it.
I guess when I watched, I had the fight feed, so
Okay.
I probably didn't have a picture in picture.
Right. Yeah. So no. So like yeah, it's good though. I mean, she talks shit to Kenny, and then she mad dogs the other 4 or 5 of them that are standing there, and then yeah. So.
I mean, when she did
Tony
that, my
Khan
first
was there
thought
or
was,
something,
man,
yeah.
they could actually do a Kenny Rose match, and I wouldn't bat an eyelash at it.
That'd be sick. Actually, that would be a good match.
But yeah, sorry, Jeff Cobb. That was a big shock to me. Apparently, his contract is that he's not full time. He's gonna be coming and going. He's still able to work New Japan,
And Ring of Honor.
PWG,
Yeah.
and plays like that. So, but if we're gonna get him in spurts, I don't have an issue with that.
No.
I agree. I wow, gosh, had a seizure. I don't know what happened. What I do wonder is if it would have been better for for Jericho to be like, I have a special mystery guest next week. Not tell us and then have the big reveal come out.
No,
be
it was
Jeff
smart
Cobb.
actually because no one then expected him to come out at the end of the night.
That's true.
Because
but,
everybody
I mean,
just assumed,
what
they're
real
just
purpose-
advertising him, and then bam, he's out and just destroys Moxley.
But what real purpose did it serve him coming out to kind of build up that they were going to be fighting?
At the same time too, it's also Jeff Cobb. I mean, I love Jeff Cobb, but Jeff Cobb isn't a big name.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, he's
Here
not
I
even a
am.
big star anywhere. Everybody just knows him because obviously if you watch Lucha Underground, you know him as Matanza. If you watch New Japan, like he's a middling guy. Like he was a never open weight level title guy. So I mean, on paper, he's not a guy that you hide in secret and then people are going to freak out about. That's what the Exalted one's going to be, which I'll have theories on that, and we'll get to that later as well. But, like, that's the kind of guy that it's okay putting a vignette up for him, kind of in the way that WWE used to do that for guys when they were coming in.
Mm-hmm. I do realize, too, that's very hypocritical of me for less than 10 minutes ago, me to say, don't just have someone drop in surprise and the fans not know who the fuck they're talking about. I guess that I was just thinking from a perspective that people would be more accustomed to Jeff Cobb, but maybe that's just not true.
Well, it's tough because, like, and we've talked about this on the show before, but, like, now that WWE is really batting down the hatches and, like, people aren't coming up to get signed, like, a lot of the new talent they end up bringing in, with a couple exceptions, because apparently Brian Cage is signed, and they might get Brody Lee, a.k.a. Luke Harper. But, like, a lot of the people that they're going to be bringing in from here on out are, like, big on the indies, but not perhaps on television. So they have
big
to
in
do
size, too, which is something they need. Like, if we're talking Cobb, Brody, Brian Cage, like, that's filling a hole that they desperately need to.
Yeah, JR talked about it a bit about that, I saw on a separate podcast this week at one point. So, yeah, so there's that side, there's that part of it, too. But I'm thinking, like, from a purely promotional standpoint, you bring in people that might be big on the independent scene, but you do, will require some build-up because they may not be known to a TV audience, right?
Yeah. I mean, like the whole Wardlow thing, we said, well, geez, like, there's only, like, one promo for him, and then he just randomly showed his MJF. I'm like, well, yeah, you can do that because no one's going to know who he is anyway.
Right. You knew that he was going to be a big, dominating guy, and then, yeah, sure enough, we're going to talk about this, too, but obviously the build to finally seeing Wardlow in the ring was definitely worth it.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Do you guys know about what Wardlow has? Maybe we've already had this conversation.
I think we might have, but yeah, I never really knew much about him going in.
He was Double or Nothing. They had like that weird vignette for him.
It was either that or Fyter Fest, but you're right. It was around that time.
Okay. No, he came in right after Full Gear. The promo was they showed the promo on All Out, like during the pay-per-view of him, like the one where he beats the shit out of the guys in the parking lot. But then he didn't appear on TV to say MJF until the promo.
Oh, that's right. You're right. There were two. There was the beat up, and then the first one was like just him and like he was at like the top of a parking garage or something, just looking cool.
Yeah.
I only remember that one. I don't even remember for whatever reason this other one, even though I've watched all these pay-per-views. I'm trying
there's a lot to remember on these things. We're now getting to a point that's like, shit. Now I'm forgetting some of the matches from like the original shows.
Oh yeah, I could not tell you what the first matches were.
Oh, I can tell you the first match. It was the first match ever was Kip Sabian and Sammy Guevara.
Right, that's right.
I could tell you that, but I would not be able to tell you the rest of the card. I would.
I'm still okay with that memory, but
really?
Yeah, for the most part.
For Double or Nothing, you could name in order every match.
Not in order,
on the card.
but I can definitely like name off matches and be confident about it.
Okay. I can probably with Double or Nothing. I can't with like Fyter Fest or Fight for the Fallen or a couple of them. But,
okay.
All Out for sure, and then like Full Gear for sure.
Yeah.
The last things before we get to the main show that we have, obviously, speaking of really good promos the last couple of weeks, those Pac promos I've been really liking.
Yes, Beyond Gorilla.
That man is a fucking masterpiece. Like, that guy is an artist if there ever was one in the wrestling industry right now.
Oh my God, dude, he's amazing.
Did you guys see the picture he did with Liger after his last match?
Yes, I saw on Reddit. Someone posted that. It was unfucking real.
That's a guy that AEW better keep a tight leash on, because if WWE hears about this guy.
Oh my God, yeah. His aesthetic, he's very.
But I love the fact that Pac is almost starting to look like a supervillain.
Yeah.
And they did a good job, right? The videos
all
are black
I need now is for him to have like a couple of cronies to send them off like he's a Bond villain just sitting in the background.
They filmed them in Newcastle, which is good, right? Because you get the old Victorian architecture, so it looks sinister.
Exactly.
And he's walking around. The first one was kind of funny because he's in his tights the whole time. The one from last week's show was awesome.
Yeah.
And I think you and I were talking about that, Adam. But he's taunting. Well, I like the way he frames it, right? He's like, Kenny, you haven't been the same since I choked you out. I'm the one who's broken you. I'm the one who's made you aimless. All your problems lead back to me.
Well, it's like them alluding to how the entire time, like, we thought that Kenny was doing nothing, and they were almost playing that, like, oh, he might turn to the cleaner guys.
Yeah, no, exactly. Right. To send him over the edge. But I like that. I also like to. I can tell this promo's had an effect on me because I find myself at different times catching myself saying in a bad British accent, "I want my rubber match." Anyway, we're gonna have it
because of his thick accent. It just makes him sound even more sinister too. Yeah. Because if it was just some normal dude, like you would never be able to have like fucking Jungle. Well, maybe Jungle Boy could pull it up, but like you couldn't have Marco Stunt like talk in the same lines, and it wouldn't sound nearly as like sinister.
Yeah, no.
But because of the accent and because he's got a deep voice to it, it almost sounds guttural now, and it just sounds like he literally is standing there with a gun to your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
It's
very
going to
good.
be exciting, right? Because it's going to be a first this week. Like, we'll talk about it this week, I guess, at the end of the show, too. But now we're going to have a 30-minute Iron Man match between these two guys. It's going to be sweet.
Last thing on that show before we get to the actual most recent one, Moxley and Santana. I love that match because it basically felt like a street fight without it being no DQ.
Yeah. It started in the stands. It was just a knockdown, drag 'em out brawl. It was good. The MJF Jungle Boy match was really good, too. For anyone that hasn't seen it.
That was pretty good.
I agree.
So at this point, because you were talking about what next week was, so it's the Iron Man match so far with Pac and Omega. You got Sammy Guevara, Santana Ortiz against Jurassic Express, and then you have Butcher and the Blade against Best Friends. That's all we have set up for this point.
2 of 3 ain't bad.
I mean, considering that almost half the show is going to be taken up by one match. I mean, you're expecting there's going to be. I mean, there won't be that much either because they got to prepare for a bunch of matches. I imagine maybe there's going to be one more match the entire night because there's going to be you have to have Cody and MJF set up. You have to have Jericho and Moxley set up.
Right.
Jericho, Moxley, or
Chris Statlander will probably do something.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a second because they tease. She and Big Swole got teased. Jericho and Moxley are doing a weigh-in, like a UFC-style weigh-in for the title match.
Which I'm very curious.
Which is kind of hilarious because in real life you would never do a weigh-in
really cool.
4 days before an actual fucking match. But yeah, it's.
Oh, bro, I'm hyped.
We'll have to talk about that offline. How we're going to want to cover that because I'm going to watch it live. So if we want to record the next,
I'm watching it live. So if we all are still able to do Sunday like we normally do, we should be good.
Okay, perfect, cool.
Okay.
Looking at Dark, there really wasn't much going on there apart from. I did have a little bit of enjoyment out of Young Bucks against QT Marshall and Peter Avalon because I love the fact that Avalon was just at his full dick in that match.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah,
there's a lot of fun with it. They were using the microphone during the match. It was kind of funny how they were pulling that off. Because again, it's Dark. It's supposed to be all the fun stuff, so it was a little less serious for the TV show and a lot more hokey, and I kind of like that too.
A sidebar on that, I'm really enjoying Taz and Excalibur on Dark.
I love it, and I love the fact too they brought him in for the second half of Dynamite this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another sidebar, real quick. Do we think with the news of AEW? I don't know if you guys already discussed this on the previous show. You probably did.
Probably not because I don't think we've been had a show since that announcement.
Well, them getting a second show. Is that second show going to be
It's
Dark?
It's going to be a mixture of Dark and being the Elite, from what I understand. They're gonna show Dark, and then they're gonna have a lot more of their little skits and stuff as well.
Okay.
That's the gist of what I think we've gotten so far. We don't know much more beyond that, but that's kind of the assumption at this point, which I'm okay with.
Okay.
As long as it's still easily accessible, who cares? You're getting the same kind of fun, silly matches, I would hope. I don't want them to suddenly turn into another serious hour of matches. I kind of like the fact that you get all these, smaller names, and they kind of do a few fun stuff at the same time. I mean, anytime you can have Being the Elite on there and get some of that other stuff in, because there's some stuff that gets put on Being the Elite that people don't see that actually would really enhance some storylines, too.
Yeah, I agree. I think having that on TV for people who aren't going to be watching the Bucks YouTube channel, I definitely agree. I think, even this past Being Elite where, Hangman was kind of telling people, where to hit Kenny. If it came down to it, his weakness.
I think he was talking about one of the Bucks, but yeah.
All right, well, scratch that. Well,
no, same thing though, right? Because you're ostensibly supposed to be kind of friends and former stablemates, but.
And even the heels are just kind of looking at Paige, being like, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dynamite was from the 20th of February, just a couple days ago. A lot going on this show, and we were talking about it before we started the show itself. The last 2 weeks of Dynamite have been absolutely phenomenal. They have done a fantastic job at putting on some great shows just before Revolution.
Yeah, there's full buy-in to it. I think it's doing a really good lead. There still needs to be another match or two for Revolution to fill out the card a bit. But I mean,
the card at this point, there's only 4 listed, but I think they haven't added the Darby Guevara match yet, which seems like they were teasing. So
yeah, no, I think
it looks
that's
like we have at least 5
now, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at Wikipedia. The only 4 that are confirmed at this point is Jericho, Moxley, MJF, Cody, Omega Page against the Bucks, and Hagar and Dustin Rhodes. I would imagine that Guevara, Allen will be one. I imagine there's got to be a women's title match somewhere, whether they have Statlander and Big Swole fight on Dynamite this Wednesday for the #1 contendership. Who knows? I would put my money on Swole with a weird upset or like Rose getting involved because she doesn't want to deal with Statlander because I think Statlander Rose is too soon. Unless they do the thing where, Statlander will fight early on, lose, and then come back 6 months later to take out Rose, maybe.
Yeah, either or. Could be,
I
yeah.
don't
But
know.
you're right. They'll do a match to that effect, though. And then probably another tag.
Because there's got to be at least one women's match on the card.
And then another tag match, probably.
There's a lot to go on with that. But speaking
gotta
of
give the
tags,
Lucha Brothers
we had the
something to
Battle
do,
Royal
too.
leading off Dynamite, which was, holy shit, there was a lot going on.
Yeah. As often there is with Battle Royales, what I did like about the Battle Royale is that usually with the Battle Royale, I guess it kind of is always this way, but sometimes it gets to the point where it's just people, kicking each other in the corner and nothing's really happening. But I do like that almost in the middle of the ring, they were like, here are the spots you should be paying attention to. Here's what's going to be happening that you're going to want to watch. But sometimes it gets kind of confusing when there's, 15 different things that you want to see happening.
Yeah, there was
kinda all
always something
happening at
moving, and it
once.
didn't feel like they were hiding stuff either. It
No.
felt like what you were seeing
Yeah.
is what you were supposed to. It wasn't a mess anywhere, I found.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they did some cool ones.
Yeah.
Right? So like SCU did a double splash right at the beginning that was cool, that knocked everybody down. Then Jack Evans tried to do a big splash, and they all caught him and threw him outside, which was good.
That was great.
There was a cool spot. Jungle Boy had just wrapped himself around the ring post on the outside to not get eliminated at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then
I love
furthering
that.
He was channeling his inner Katie Catanzaro doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And and actually, speaking of, so maybe this will be something at the pay-per-view too. But like the Dark Order came out and distracted SCU to get eliminated, and they talk about. The
I would not be
arrival of
shocked if the
Exalted
Dark
One
Order
being
are fighting SCU in some aspect.
And
I still have a weird
think, like,
theory
we might
now
see-
on who's going to be the Exalted One.
Yeah, so I think we might see both of those things.
He's coming.
Yeah,
Exalted One's coming.
They
All right,
say
what's
that
your theory, though?
arrival is imminent, apparently. So we shall see.
Yeah.
There is a part of me that thinks it's not going to be anything we expect it to be because everybody thinks it's going to be Daniels or it'll be something like that. I'm getting a weird inclination that it might actually be Kenny.
Huh.
And the only reason I am is because he's drifted off back into being normal again, and I feel like that's kind of almost putting it off. And at
Yeah.
the same time, I feel like if they just go with Daniels, it's too obvious. I know that people sometimes say the most obvious one is sometimes the best option. We know that Marty's out because Marty's still busy with ROH, so that's not going to be a thing. Brody Lee, people have danced around. I don't know if that would be the right person either because I feel like the Exalted one, you really want somebody for promos.
People seem to really think it's Matt Hardy from...
Matt would be interesting
what I've been
too. I'm
seeing.
not sure when his
Yeah.
contract ends though, and I feel like the amount of times they're saying he's coming near, this would be the time to do it. So I'm starting to wonder if Matt Hardy is not going to be there in time because it feels like almost like Revolution is going to be when it happens.
I think so. Well, actually,
Right.
as we were saying,
That's
March
that's
2nd.
why I'm curious.
Evil Uno tweeted today like something about like the arrival is imminent. Here, hold on, I'll pull it up.
March 2nd is when Matt Hardy's contract supposedly is ending, and so it's right near Revolution.
It misses
but
it
yeah,
by
as
3
we said,
days,
it's
though.
not.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
here,
And the other thing is too is I'm assuming he's running out his deal, so it's not like he'll have a no compete clause.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, like unless they do something weird to have like a figure show up and it's just not actually anybody, because the 2nd of March would be the Tuesdays or the Monday, I should say. So they'd have, let's say if his contract is straight up done on the 2nd, they could conceivably have him show up on Dynamite the next week.
they could. So anyway, so here's the tweet: everybody lives, everybody dies. The Exalted One is near. The Exalted One arrives. So they're teasing it that he's coming imminently. And
Yeah, like I said, I'm all over the place because I don't think that really is a bad option. I think whatever they come up with is going to make a lot of sense and is going to be a cool moment.
it's Vince McMahon.
I just
in the
keep
hood.
thinking, I'm like, man, I feel like just because of how the way everything is being set up story-wise, that the Bucks are kind of slated to win against Page and Omega. Because, spoiler alert, they win the Battle Royal. We didn't get that far yet. But I just look at it as, if that's the first match on the card, my money immediately goes to the Bucks winning, and then Kenny over the night just like vanishing and then shows back up later.
Yeah, could be something like that for sure. Also, on the Dark Order front, they offered, after Shima got eliminated, they offered him a mask, and then he just kept it. He didn't put it on or anything, but he walked away with it.
Yeah, he didn't outright say no. So I mean, there's that. I don't know if that would lead to anything because then it would just kind of screw over T-Hawk and Lindemann a bit. But.
Yeah, it would give them
because you also don't want them to be too big. You don't want to turn the Dark Order in the NWO. Like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
not gonna. You don't want to oversaturate it.
It's just 40% of the roster.
Yeah.
I liked Santana and Ortiz didn't jump in until the battle royal was well underway, which I love. Classic heel move.
Well, neither did what's their two names? Fucking Silver and Reynolds. They didn't for a little bit, and then they just got tossed immediately.
Yeah. No, I don't think anyone had any money on them. And then
No.
the Luchasaurus.
Jeez, wouldn't that be a massive turnaround?
Right. Luchasaurus squaring off with the Butcher was fucking unreal.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And I hope
love
that's
that.
a singles match at some point. I think it will be.
I wouldn't be surprised if it happens on like a Dark or something. I don't know if they throw that on a Dynamite, but
Yeah. My favorite call in this match is right when Private Party gets eliminated. Tony goes, "Live by the silly string, die by the silly string." That's what I've always said.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
And JR goes, "You have always said
It's a
that."
classic saying.
well, that's the thing too. Again, JR, because he misses a lot of names, because that's his thing apparently now. But you put him and Tony together, like you just feel like the camaraderie between those two, so it helps. It really does alleviate a lot of the comments.
Yeah, it makes you laugh. It's
They have a
warm.
great
There's another one.
chemistry.
There's another line between the two of them. I'll get to it in a little bit. It's in a different match. Then you had the good spot where they're trying to eliminate Trent, and Orange Cassidy pops out from under the ring and catches him on his shoulders or lifts him up on his shoulders for the save.
Before he at least get kicked in the balls anyway.
Yes, that's right. And the bunny kicked him in the balls. So that's cool. And that is cool that they're building a rivalry between the best friends and the Butcher and the Blade. Because there's a bit of background to that. Because the Butcher, as we said, is Every Time I Die. They have a big event in Buffalo at Christmas time every year. It's like a rock and roll show and it's wrestling. And so this year they had it was Best Friends against Butcher and the Blade as one of the main events. So I'm excited to see them do it next week on Dynamite.
We missed it because we're near the end. Nick got eliminated very early in the match by the Butcher and the Blade.
True. That's a good point. To
So
set the storyline.
Matt was alone for a good chunk of it. The final four ended up being the Butcher, Matt Jackson, and Pride and Powerful. So at that point, 3 heels against 1 face. You knew what was going to happen.
Yeah,
at
more
one
or less.
point, Matt does
Fun to
his
watch,
double Northern Light suplexes on PNP, which that spot I still love that. It's now become like the new Three Amigos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great looking move, and it's tough to pull off. You got to be strong to pull it off, right? So
Oh my God, yeah.
he speared the Butcher to the floor to eliminate him, which was good.
I mean, look, if he'd be able to do 3 guys if he just wear all the merchandise that Nick gives him, and then he'd have all the superpowers.
This is kind of another offhand sidebar comment, but if God forbid ever the Jurassic Express breaks up, what I want to see happen is when Jungle Boy is on Lucha's shoulders, at the end of a match, he just does a reverse Rana to him. Bam. I feel that's all I could think
That
about
would
every
make me
time I
cry
saw
if you had Jungle Boy making a heel turn, because I cry because I wouldn't want to see that team decimated, and then I cry because be like, that's such a stupid decision to make him heel. It doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense unless he completely
Yeah.
he pulls a full JBL and just completely changes his character around. And just
Yeah.
becomes a douchebag, Jersey Shore kind of guy, because he of course he has the voice that makes him sound like he'd be one of those guys, just a
more like
Southern
a Southerner,
California prick.
Right.
Yeah, we might see it at some point. Well, yeah, there you go. Jungle Boy's the exalted one.
But yeah, like I said,
Calling it
Matt ends up winning the entire match after he takes out Pride and Powerful and fucking killed Sammy with a super kick.
That was the sickest looking super kick I've ever seen.
It looked less like a kick and more like a stab.
Yeah, broke Sammy's glasses.
It looked like he was trying to cleave his fucking head off.
Yeah, it was great.
Forget calling it a super kick. You should have called it a claymore. That's what a claymore kick really is.
Yeah.
It was good. It felt like the first big win the Bucks have had in a long time. I mean, obviously they've picked up wins along the way and they've had a couple title matches, but this felt like a good come from behind, feel good moment for them.
Not to mention, too, that it was a match that, because we have the beauty right now that the first match on the card every show isn't getting commercialed. So for this thing to go about half an hour as it did and just to be nonstop, you really got the chance to sit down and see a full story without being interrupted, too, which in that case, especially with Nick being eliminated early, you have so much to look forward to in that match, so many interesting moments in that match as we went through. And hell, we didn't even get to the best tag team match yet, and we're still not even there yet. But like the fact that we had this without two specific teams just tells you the depth that they have in that division.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they said very early on, Matt and Nick said that they want to make the tag team wrestling the main event. You know, I think they're doing a great job with that, you know, with building this arsenal of teams.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Any other comments before we move on?
I'm excited for the match at Revolution, I must say, and I'm not a big Bucks fan. I mean, I don't dislike them by any means, but they're not usually a part of the show that I tune in to watch. But I think that match is going to be really, really good.
Oh, for sure. And the storytelling in that match is going to be incredible too.
Yeah. Well, Adam, you and I were talking about it at one point too. Like they don't have to turn Paige heel, right? They just have to keep him as this character and break them away from them. He doesn't have to do anything more than that. So I'm interested to see.
I mean, he's basically become like their version of Stone Cold.
Yeah.
He's just not swearing.
Yeah, he's a PG Stone Cold.
He doesn't even. Well, that's the thing. Like all he has to do is be a drinking buddy, and people are already going to get way into him, and that's exactly what happened. People now want to give him beer.
Yeah. If you
and you know how expensive
beer
it
come away from
is
the
at those
elite,
shows.
you got to do it, but don't turn him heel because at this point this thing's working. So.
Yeah, they could just have him be a lone wolf, and people would not bat an eyelash.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where it will lead once they lose the belts and have a blow up at each other or whatever.
Yeah. Quickly running through this one, Statlander defeated Shanna. That was a fine match. I just like the fact that Shanna comes out in Dragon Ball tights and Kamehameha the crowd as she came out.
Oh yeah, that was cool. Yeah, the Goku tights are a good look. There was one funny part of this. There's two funny parts of this on commentary because Britt Baker joined them, and she gave Tony a cup with his face on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And JR goes, "You got any Blue Chew in that?"
Yeah.
And then the other amazing part was like, JR was like, "Can somebody explain this space galaxy thing to me?" And both Britt Baker and Tony do the deadpan, and then Excalibur begins to explain it, and JR's like, no, you know what? Never mind, I'm good. And Excalibur goes, "You ask, man."
It's like asking, you shall receive.
Yeah. No, I mean it was.
I did like that instead of a chop exchange, they had a boop exchange.
They did the boop off. That was good. They got the crowd into it. And then it went through a commercial, but it wasn't a super long match. And then
Orange Cassidy was jealous watching that exchange. He's like, "Man, I've been trying to have that exchange my entire time here, and I just keep getting hit before I finish."
Yep.
Statlander's finishing move, the Big Bang Theory, is awesome. Like that underhook tombstone pile driver.
Yeah, it looks really, really lethal, even though it's probably a harmless move because the head's not coming anywhere near the mat.
Yeah. So I like that. That was short but sweet and good to keep building up Statlander.
And wisely, they have Rose coming up for an interview. Rose was a lot better on the mic at this one too. She's been getting a lot better as well. I just love the line though. "Do you know what happens when I'm hungry? I break bitches."
Yeah, that was a great line. And then she said
she'll
be
cool.
a one-time champion. Like she's never going to lose the belt. Like that. Yeah, no. I think she'll get better.
I like
it was
that
pretty
too.
good. She had the intensity.
And like we were saying earlier, the fact that people are immediately not afraid of her and coming out. Like Statlander came out, Swole came out. I was surprised that it was just those two, but I guess because that's their two they're going with for a number one contenders match, it makes sense. But honestly, like even Leva Bates, who hasn't done anything this entire time in the ring, even had a cross-eyed look to her, just being like, "No, I want that too." So I thought it would have been really interesting if literally the entire women's division just came out and surrounded her, just being like, "No, we're not afraid of you. We're coming for you."
True, that would have made a statement. But if you had to send people out, I'm happy it's Statlander and Swole because those are two people I want to see compete for the belt because they're two of the better wrestlers in that division. And if you're not going to use like we said, Sheeta would fit in that quite nicely too. But if they're not going to use her at the moment, I'm happy it's these two. So we'll see if it's a triple threat on the pay-per-view or like we said, if they have a number one contenders match, we'll see. But either of those matches would be good.
Any of the three options would be more than okay for sure.
Do we know what Sheeta is up to right now? What is
she's
her
still doing dark
status
matches?
right
She's still there on a weekly basis. So
yeah, she's still. It's just one of the cases like Jimmy Havoc, for example, was kind of just gone for a couple of weeks. It's just there's only 3 hours of television, so I mean I imagine it's not easy to fit everybody on there. So you'll see some people just not, because obviously you're not going to have Cody missing a show for a couple of weeks, but somebody like a Shanna or, I mean, we haven't even seen Jamie Hayter since because she's gone back to Stardom. So because not all of them are full-time as well, I imagine that a lot of it's just like, oh, we can't book them this week because they're not coming in. That's why we haven't seen Yuka in so long too, right? So we also don't see The Strong Hearts guys nearly that much. So we used to see Shima a lot in the early going, and now that's kind of gone away by the wayside too. So
Yeah, he was on the
I think it's just a case where guys are coming and going because not everybody's full. So
Right.
Yeah, and then
sorry, you were gonna say something there, Liam?
well, I was gonna say, yeah, like Shima was on the first couple pay-per-views, and then he was on the first Dynamite, then he was on the first Dark, and then they brought in the rest of the Strong Hearts guys again, and then, yeah, like you said, they kind of blinked out for a month or two, and I hadn't seen them in a while since, and then they were in the Battle Royal again. So.
Just out of curiosity, I'm gonna throw up the roster list and just see what the records are because we'll get an idea on who so far hasn't really been doing much.
Yeah.
Let's see here. It's 2020 so far in terms of small matches. Yeah, Shima's only had one match, and that was
Joey Janela's been doing nothing.
He's been dealing with Kip, and I think now that that's gone by the wayside, I'd imagine we see something a little bit more with him in the works later. It's just we're now close to the pay-per-view, so they're trying to get whatever they can in.
I don't know why they killed that on TV, or why they just had it as a blow-off on TV. That could have been on the pay-per-view.
To be honest, I don't think it's that big a feud.
I know, but I mean, like, if you're going to fill out
unless
the
they're
card
going to do it
anyway.
for a pre-show thing, maybe.
Yeah.
They could have done it as a pre-show, maybe at best.
Because they put Spears Janela on full gear, right? Like,
Yeah. Private Party hasn't really done much. They've only had 2 matches. Like I said, Havoc just had 1 match. So I keep scrolling down. Well, Nakazawa's just kind of been gone, but also Paxton beating the shit out of him the entire time, so there's that excuse.
Nakazawa isn't really meant to be around actively fighting. I don't really think.
I mean, Spears has had 3 matches, but I think they've also been keeping him quiet because they're once he gets his actual partner, I think that's when things will get going. As I look at the women, Priestley hasn't even had a match yet this year. Sakura hasn't had a match this year. Neither's Leva.
I totally forgot about Sakura.
Penelope Ford hasn't had a match so far this year. Sadie Gibbs hasn't had a match this year. And neither's Ali. So there's just a good chunk of people that so far, especially in the women's division where there's only one real storyline for the most part, and which is the belt, it's a lot harder for them to, I guess, to get everybody in because, I mean, realistically speaking, what else? Like, I still feel like they're in this transition phase of trying to figure out what everybody's doing. So naturally it means that story-wise and, like, you can have singles match stories with the guys because there's so many of them and there's enough to push. I think because they're still trying to figure out what women are really going forward right now, they're just sticking to the belt because they at least got to make the division matter with the belt first before they can do anything else.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's less that guys aren't being on the show so much as there just isn't enough room for all of them at the same time. So somebody's got to fall by the wayside.
Yep. That is how it is in this crazy wrestling biz.
I mean, thank God that they're actually independent contractors, so they can go do other work, so they can keep fresh, right? So,
yeah.
Next up, we had Moxley versus Jeff Cobb, which that felt like a fucking New Japan strong style match to me, and I loved every moment of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple big suplexes on the outside and whatnot. As we said earlier, they brought Taz out to do the commentary on this, which I liked, but they didn't do enough to allude to like the human suplex machine aspect of it, and like the parallel with Cobb, right? Which I think is what they were kind of trying to draw without saying it explicitly. But whatever, it worked. Also, random sidebar quickly. I've been watching a bunch of old Taz matches. It's like you really forget how fucking good he was. I mean, I know he was the ECW heavyweight champion and whatnot, but like,
absolutely,
he was a phenomenal wrestler, man.
Like that's a guy that if WWE had taken more of a shine to him, that could have been a world champion.
Oh yeah,
like legit, because he had the gift of gab and he has the wrestling skill, and it's just a matter of just making him like a full on badass. And it's just one of those things where he's just one of those guys that just for whatever reason didn't get over.
Well, yeah, as we know, Vince doesn't like the short guys, right? And he doesn't like the guys that came from outside the Federation, so that had been stars elsewhere.
Yeah.
Talk about also his debut. His debut where the crowd was screaming for him.
Oh, I vividly remember that match.
Yeah.
Against Kurt Angle.
Yeah. The crowd went absolutely ballistic when he came out at the Royal Rumble in 2000.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting how they played it was a chokehold on Kurt, and even though now like so many guys use chokehold finishers.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking back at it, like they were saying, he used a rear naked choke, and then you think of how many people in wrestling right now that's their finish.
Samoa Joe, right? He does a rear
Samoa
naked
Joe,
choke,
Shayna Baszler, Asuka.
Yeah.
But yeah, what'd you guys think of the match as a whole, though?
Not bad. Nothing super special, but definitely a good match, I'd say.
Yeah, almost too bad that it was this week, because I think they could have given it a bit longer if it had been last week. But there's so much on the show to get to, right? So it went short. But it was short and brutal, and you could feel the physicality of it, and a good finish. It keeps Cobb looking good. That like Moxley gets a momentary bit of luck and is able to hook his leg coming off the ropes to get the win, and then of course the Inner Circle just comes in and beats the shit out of him. It was funny that Jericho reprised the "I've got a ticket" thing, coming to sit at ringside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you said, the Inner Circle immediately took off. After Dustin came out to take out Hagar because he has his problems with him, and then the lights go out. Darby's coming out because he's got some unsettled business with Sammy. He comes down. He looks like a megastar. The fans go nuts when he comes out.
Yeah.
And Sammy was having a bad night. He was
cool.
getting the shit kicked out of him again. I'm like, man, Sammy's not having the best night tonight. He should just he should take next week off.
Should lay low, yeah.
Jeez, thank God he didn't have to deal with the cage match after that.
No, exactly. And then you did finally see Jericho and Moxley kind of throw a couple, they go at each other for a minute, and then Jericho hightails it out of the ring. So that was
a tease.
Yeah.
Yeah, very well told there.
And then before it moved to the next thing, Darby did this in picture too, but it was cool. He did the same thing Sammy does with the placards, but it's in like scary goth writing.
Except he has the reason to because he doesn't have a voice.
Yeah, exactly.
At least he has the reason to do it. Sammy's just doing it because he's trying to be a clever bitch.
Yeah. I like Sammy's t-shirt too. The one where he's like a messiah or like a church guy. He's got the "hit me up" and the.
He did get hit up a lot on that fucking show.
That's true. They took it to heart.
You guys, I know, probably don't follow WWE that much at all, but Seth Rollins right now is the Monday Night Messiah, and there was all these fools online that were like, AEW cannot stop copying what WWE is doing, and it was like, dude, there is no.
It's like Sammy's been the Spanish God longer than Seth's been the Monday Night Messiah.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. Oh well, that's just people looking for shit to be mad about.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's the whole thing, too, where I keep saying, can we stop picking sides? Like, we want both to succeed because it means that we have more shit to watch.
We want better wrestling.
Yeah.
If you pick a side between AEW or WWE, you are a moron. Yeah. Just watch what you want to watch.
It's just one of those things like with anything else, whether it's sports, whether it's gaming, wrestling, whatever it may be. Just everybody's got to take a side because they got to feel like they got to belong somewhere. I don't care. It's all the same to me. I just happen to be watching AEW right now because I'm so tired of WWE. It's like you go to McDonald's enough times in a row, you want to go have Burger King for a bit because you kind of got sick of the other. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to get sick of AEW anytime soon, but I couldn't tell you what's gonna be like in 12 months. So speaking of things that people like, though, let's get to Liam's favorite segment of the show. Where
Holy shit!
What did Phoenix do this week?
The things that Ray Phoenix does that blow my fucking mind.
We had Omega and Page against the Lucha Brothers, and Jesus Christ, that match! Oh my God!
We need a theme song for every time for this segment.
We do. Yeah.
If I honestly, I would just play the Lucha Bro theme if I wouldn't get me copyright complaints. So
yeah, and this is cool because we didn't get to talk.
DMCA.
Obviously, these guys fought before Christmas, before Page and Omega were the champions, and we didn't get to cover it because we didn't do a podcast over the holidays. So this is cool that we're going to do it now. But yes, without further ado, and obviously this will jump around a bit because some of these were earlier in the match and whatnot. But the big one was obviously the Hurricane Rana to the outside to Kenny near the end.
Oh, that looks so good.
When they went to do the move where they throw the guy to do the German and he reversed it and hit a cutter.
That was
not
awesome.
the most athletic thing in his arsenal, but he hit a big fucking drop kick out of nowhere on Kenny, like right towards the end. That looked really, really good and like hit like super suddenly. He did a corkscrew sidewinder to Page on the outside at one point to take him out, and then and this is the thing, like a testament to him. Even at the last part, like because he misses this and then it goes into the finish, but he does the little 619 style rope swing. And he does this beautiful swinging axe kick. And it misses Kenny, and then they do the V-trigger buckshot. But it still looks like, even when he's not hitting offense, it looks good, right?
And it was great, too, because they told a great story, because you actually thought for a moment that they were losing because Page hit Omega with the buckshot by accident again.
And anytime that happens,
they hit the Penta driver. Phoenix had dove out to take out Page. So everything told you that it was coming, that was the finish. And he does the 2.9 kick out, and it was just so good because the fans, by the reaction, you could tell that they thought it was coming. They thought we were seeing a title change.
That really is the best. That is really the best when you could tell that nobody knows that that's the direction that something's going. Obviously, it's not obvious.
Well, the Lucha...
Because, I mean, we're used to finishers being kicked out of, right? But in this specific case, it was guy hitting his own partner with his finisher, guy getting knocked out at the ring afterwards, and another finisher being hit on the guy. Everything would tell you at that point that's it. Like, it wasn't just, oh, Adam Cole hit his finisher on Gargano, like a lot of those matches were, and you expect, well, it's the first time he's going to kick out. This time it was, oh shit,
right.
All the things that go into a tag match ending were done.
Right. It was organic and it felt, dare I say, real. And made sense too. Which
for sure. Well, the other thing is like to your point, Adam, about the fans being nervous about it. Like the Lucha Brothers are a legitimate enough tag team that like if you were going to put the belts on anybody new 10 days before a pay-per-view, like if there was one team you might consider giving it to, it's them. So the threat feels real, right?
Yeah, and it's not like anybody would be opposed to another Lucha Brothers Bucks match because they've all been amazing. So
yeah, exactly.
But that was a fantastic tag match. That's one of the better tag matches they've ever done too.
Yeah, I think one of the better matches they've done. Period. But that was phenomenal, beginning to end. I had to have a cigarette when I was done watching it.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, you got your Phoenix quota done for like the month.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, no, you're set for a while with that.
Either that or he's going to start needing a bigger fix.
Yeah, if they want to put Rey Fénix on every match on the card, I mean it's probably not great for him physically, but I'd watch it.
And the sad part is he'd want to do it.
Yeah,
he wouldn't say no. He'd be like, "Screw it, why not?"
I'm interested to see because I don't think they'll break them up. I don't think they'll turn on each other, or they could, and that would be an awesome feud. Penta versus Rey would be Rey Fénix.
They honestly could turn them into a Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens like feud. Yeah, because they feuded all the time in Lucha Underground, so there's precedence.
Yeah, so that could be sick. Or even if they just go their separate ways and they're both singles wrestlers. I mean, obviously we know what Penta can do as a singles wrestler. It'd be cool to see Rey. Well, I mean, Rey was.
You can bring them back together at any time too.
Exactly right, and you can keep it so that they go more single, but they still have each other's backs. But you know what? Like whatever, like what they're doing right now, as long as they're happy, I mean, like I'm thrilled with it. Right? They're a great tag team. They're probably as we've said before.
Absolutely.
So it's always entertaining.
So to cap it off, we got the cage match.
Oh my god!
I got 2 complaints right off the bat. 2 complaints. One, they said at the beginning of the match that Cody has to beat Wardlow. That was never stated until this point.
Yep.
It was just said you have to face Wardlow in a steel cage. There was never you had to win, because the idea was that all this was doing was to soften Cody up.
Right. So actually, when you and I talked about that earlier this week, I went back to double check just to make sure. And if you do watch the MJF promo from January 1st, he does then say you have to defeat a wrestler of my choosing. So I wasn't sure about that either, but I went back and checked. And
it's just the way that they talk about it so long, like especially when Cody mentioned that he accepted the terms, it just sounds like, oh, he just wants me to get softened up.
Yeah.
Which is code for me thinking, I know that in Cody's mind he just assumes he's going to win, but it also, the wordage of it kind of makes it think like, oh, it's just a match to just fuck him up before a Revolution.
No.
Right.
I hear you loud and clear on that. Well, it's a gift and a curse, right? You kind of forget about it because the build of this match has been so long. But I've also loved that, like, this match has been 6 weeks in the making, right?
Well, I mean, the Iron Man match was like announced 3 weeks ago, so they're doing a great job of telling you, giving you a heads up, being like, look forward to this shit. I mean, fuck, we just saw the news story, and I don't mean to take shots at WWE, but we just had the story come out from Meltzer that they completely changed a bunch of the WrestleMania matches. The show is in a fucking month. And here's AEW having planned out matches like almost a month and change in advance.
I've not read that. That's true. They said that they flipped around a bunch of shit.
Yep, they decided to flip out. It's not going to be Reigns and Wyatt now. It might actually be Cena and Wyatt is a rumor now.
What the fuck?
Reigns might be getting Goldberg. Like that's what's being floated right now.
Huh.
I'd be okay with that. This isn't a WWE show, obviously, but side note, I wouldn't be okay with that.
Yeah. No, the cage itself.
Going back to the
awesome.
cage, the other complaint that I hate.
Oh yeah,
sorry. Go ahead, Liam.
No, you had another one. Yeah. You do the complaint, and I'll do some of the things I liked.
Okay. The other complaint is that I don't like the fact that the cage is so loose on the outside. To me, that looks dangerous. That looks like somebody's going to take a nasty spill on the fucking apron.
Or that you could go through the chain link. Yeah, I see what you're saying, because it was a bit. Yeah.
I mean, they used it well, like when Wardlow had Cody down there and just beating the shit out of him up against the cage. That made sense, but I just kept watching, being like, man, it looks cool right now, but if they keep doing it, somebody's going to get seriously hurt, and it's going to be because of that little gap.
Yeah. Well, and they emphasized the little gap on commentary too, that it was dangerous, right? That you could take a bad bump and thing. So I think they did it to make it look dangerous. But yeah, you're right.
It's just one of those unnecessary risks I'm looking at. Hell, I was holding out on them going back to the old like WWE like blue cage, the fucking like bars.
The old Bret Hart.
I was kind of holding out for that.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it would be easier to climb.
I thought the cage looked good. Like this cage was so big, and then it had like those the studio style barriers as as the side girders. Like it looked good, man. It was a menacing looking piece of machinery.
They definitely gave it its own personality on this one.
And then like the build to this match in the last week, where like MJF keeps posting photos of like Wardlow, like with a 5-foot vertical leap, and then him like doing like 1,000-pound benches and whatnot, and he's like, "This is what's waiting for you next week. Good luck, Cody."
Yeah, again, great job of keeping outside of the show itself, investing people in stuff. So
that's right. And then
it's one of those things they're so good at the social media game.
Yeah. No, so it was good. And then, sure enough, here it is, the moment of truth. We finally see Wardlow come out, and he's as big and menacing as we thought he was going to be.
So unsurprisingly, Cody bled a lot again. Because that's what a Rhodes does in the cage.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, he likes it.
I did like they also tried to use history a little bit. The MJF was yelling at Arn to hit Cody with the door because, like, you're a four horseman. You know that it's in your blood. You know you want to do it, and then he just whaps MJF with the door instead.
Yeah, you knew he wasn't going to go for it, but it was a good part of psychology for sure. Yeah.
Do you think that they're teasing an Arn breakup?
Maybe eventually, but probably not this fast because it's only been a month.
If it depends. Honestly, I think it depends on what they do with Spears with Tully, because if he has a really good partner that you could foresee a four horseman being set up with, you could almost have a Spears and whoever his partner is with MJF and Wardlow as a new horseman in AEW. There is that potential there.
Yeah, there's a gap for like a bit. Well, yeah, because like the Inner Circle is kind of the big heel faction at the moment, but they're not all on equal footing. I mean, there's a tag team, a young singles guy, Hagar, who's obviously got weight to him because he was a world champion elsewhere, but he's not doing a lot of fighting at this point, and then Jericho, who's the linchpin. But yeah, like an Evolution Horseman style, win all the belts, dominate. That there is still a gap that could be filled there at this point.
And I mean, if you got half the original Horsemen directing them too, it just gives them more credence right away.
That's right. Yeah. What else was I gonna say? It was good, and like you said, like they played to the history of it. JR said the callback that like Flair and Rhodes 1985 in a cage in Atlanta, so it was all kind of coming full circle. Different building, obviously, but it was just a good it didn't have to be too technical or fancy. Some of the better spots in this match came again in picture-in-picture, which was kind of annoying. Some of the cooler slams that Wardlow hit, where he's just toying with him, came during the break. But it's telling the story. We know what it is. He's beating the shit out of him. Then Cody catches a wind and does the punches on the turnbuckle, and so it proceeded more or less as we thought it would.
Now, I mean, early thoughts on Wardlow. I think his look is really good as a bodyguard. I don't think his look in the ring translates to being nearly as menacing now.
No,
I really didn't get a vibe that this is a bad motherfucker when he was in the ring.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we'll see who they use.
I mean, his movesets were fine.
Yeah.
He wasn't terrible in the ring, but
really
it wasn't one of those things where I left the match being like, oh shit, this could be a big player down the road. I didn't get that sense with him.
Right, but he's also not, given the stakes of this match, you're not there to put on a technical showcase either.
No, but at the same time, like there are some matches that we've seen where we don't expect anything out of it, and then like the first time I ever saw Darby facing Cody, and all of a sudden Darby, I'm like, oh shit, this is a future world champion right here.
Right. Wardlow, know for sure.
But by the end of it, I was just like, all right, this is a middle of the road guy at best from what I saw.
Sure, but again, I'll try to phrase this how best to put this. Yeah, like the Darby match obviously blew everyone's lid. Like it was a big eye-opening come out. But again, it was like a singles match on a pay-per-view with something of a stated purpose. This was obviously a singles match. I get that, and it had a stipulation tied to it. But by the nature of it being a cage match, and by the nature of, like we said, it being MJF being like, this is my personal war dog, this is Mr. Mayhem himself, coming to beat the ever-loving shit out of you, so that even if you do get by him, you won't have a chance against me. There's more of a stated purpose to how I think he's supposed to be wrestling in this match. That he's just supposed to be inflicting pain, kind of like the Jeff Cobb thing earlier. So I imagine, I reserve judgment on Wardlow in that regard until he has a couple singles matches where it's not like deliberately something like that. But we'll see.
Time will tell.
So I forgot that I have a third complaint about this match.
Shoot.
Do tell.
So obviously MJF tried to give Wardlow the ring. Cody low blowed him. So when he took the ring, MJF tried to climb in and save Wardlow. Brandy hit him a couple times with the chairs, and then Arn just tossed him into the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
But after that, Cody hit him with the ring. He punched him with the ring and hit a crossroads and got a near fall. I did not understand that.
I don't know. I guess it was just to emphasize you really had to go to the next level to beat him, which obviously leads into what came next, perhaps. That he's tough enough that he could survive a crossroads in the ring, and that you've got to up your game. You've got to, pun intended, elevate your game to win this match.
Ooh.
Well, to me, it's the double whammy, though, that it was the punch with the ring, too. So it's also a weapon punch, which is supposed to be a lethal shot as well, so...
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I felt
hear you
like
loud
he
and
could
clear.
have just hit a crossroads and got a kick out, and I wouldn't have batted an eyelash, but because the punch was added to it, I'm like, But yeah, I guess a 20-foot moonsault will do the job.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't believe that. Like, my jaw literally dropped when I saw that.
See, I got spoiled,
Yeah,
so I knew that he did it. I just didn't see the clip yet. But when I'm looking at the cage when it actually got brought down, I'm like, wait, he did a moonsault off at that? Oh, boy.
Balls the size of grapefruits. And like we said before we started recording, like, he just goes up, doesn't hesitate, because you can't, because you're 20 feet in the air at that point. And that's to the ring. You're like 30 feet from the ground. Or 25 feet from the ground. And he
You
just,
get any second
goes,
thoughts,
right?
that second thought is going to be, I'm not fucking doing that.
Well, the problem is, right, like, now the fans are expecting it, right? Because you're going up. So if you go up, you got to come down.
Imagine,
right?
imagine he just walked down.
I mean, he could have just
Just
done
like
a
hit
flying
him.
something, but a moonsault is what he went with.
I think the moonsault was the most intense thing he possibly could have done.
Yeah, that was one of
Well,
the
I mean,
craziest.
unless you pull a ricochet and try to do a 690 because you're a fucking nutcase. But
Yeah. No, and it was this is where I had my one complaint was that like he hit him with it immediately and then he went right into the cover. I thought he should have staggered the cover for a couple seconds just to allow people to bask in the absolute holy shit magnitude of the moment. But whatever. I mean, you're gonna win with it anyway. So minor thought, but yeah, like because he just goes like.
I think maybe also they were just they were kind of running low on time and they needed to
For sure.
get their shit
For
in
sure,
as quick
yeah.
as possible.
But anyway, he got the pin, so the match is on, baby.
But yeah, like we
Yeah.
said earlier, MJF looking like he's seen a fucking ghost because he realized, I'm in trouble.
I'm in danger.
Otherwise, I guess we can quickly, because only got a little bit more time left because Joe's got to get out of here. We can just go through the card for what it is at Revolution. I mean, there's only 4 matches listed at this time, but I can assume there's a 5th in Guevara and Allen. So we'll just go through those for now because we don't know who is going to be there as a women's match or any other special matches they might throw in there. So at the very top, I would imagine we got Darby and Sammy. I would imagine Darby goes over on this one just because he's been out long enough that you kind of want that redemption arc. I hope he gets a crazy video entrance like he has been for some of these serious matches too, like when he got body surfed in a body bag for that one match with, was it Havoc or was it Janela?
That was the one with Moxley when they brought him out in the body bag.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. But yeah, I don't see any reason that Allen doesn't win this match. I mean, obviously this guy is a star. They want to keep pushing him as such.
Yeah.
And you're not really going to lose to the guy that loses to everybody so far. So
Darby hasn't won on pay-per-view yet. He tied Cody, and then he lost that triple threat against Janela and Havoc.
that's right. He lost the Cracker Barrel
and then
match.
they didn't have him on full gear. So, and it doesn't hurt Sammy that much if Darby goes over.
And I mean, those two in the ring, I can imagine having a great match too.
I've heard they've wrestled a lot before, but I imagine they'll be very, very good.
It's gonna be Eddie Guerrero versus Jeff Hardy. That's what we're gonna get. That's what everyone keeps saying.
I mean, you get 2 fast guys in the ring. That's what you're going to see. So
Yeah, both super talented, both future main event guys, I think. Also, as a quick aside, I love
Yeah.
Darby Allin, or I love Darby Allin's theme song too, but I love Sammy Guevara's theme.
there's a lot of people make fun of the music right now because a lot of it's very repetitive. But there's a lot of low key, really good music within that company.
Yeah,
It's also the
Bucks
idea too
theme
that
is
they're
really
not
good.
using the same people. It's always a cascade of things.
Niles is really good. I remember I complained about MJF's, but you know what? It's actually really grown on me. I think it suits him perfectly.
Well, that's the thing. You're not supposed to like him, so you shouldn't like his music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I just love the idea that all these guys, it's not like it's just CFO $, or whatever the fuck they call themselves. It's not just Jim Johnston. It's so many different artists that are doing stuff. Like, you go on Spotify and you see the names attached to these songs. It's not the same person ever. So it also brings, like, that extra bit of flavor. So it's coming from different places. It's not just one guy trying to write 10 different genres worth of music. Let's see. Next up, probably, well, I don't think it really matters what the order is here, but the next one on the list would be Hagar versus Dustin Rhodes. I imagine, again, no reason that Hagar shouldn't be winning his first match.
Yeah, Dustin's there to take the hits at this point. He's 50 years old. He's not hanging on to anything. I think he'll have a good match, and they'll be competitive, and maybe Hagar.
Oh, it'll be a fun Haas match. You know, it's going to be a classic old school Haas match.
It's going to be nice to see Hagar back in the ring.
I just hope he's not wearing that same stupid singlet.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think he'll go. I think he'll pull the Lesnar, right? Once you fought MMA, you're always going to go fight shorts from there on out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to go like the Matt Riddle. Well, maybe not nearly short shorts as Matt Riddle, but it'll be more like a Brock Lesnar, Filthy Tom Lawler kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what you'll see him wear.
Anything else I'm thinking? I mean, otherwise, you might not see a Destroyer being pulled out this match. That's about it.
That's fine. We don't need Destroyers every single match. It's okay.
I don't know, but it's kind of funny watching Dustin do him.
Yeah, no, I do like Dustin's Destroyer, but no, it's not necessary all the time.
We'll leave the old guy doing the Destroyer to Ricky Morton.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Insane. Yeah. It's hilarious that the Rock and Roller still fight or still wrestling. Actually, that was nice because like great. On camera, Santana or Ortiz were obviously antagonizing them when they were at the pay-per-view and whatnot. But there was a nice picture of the four of them together this week, like hanging out. It was the caption was like "My dudes" or something. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. Next up, we'd have Omega and Page up against the Bucks.
Yeah, that's gonna be a show.
That one is gonna be. That's probably gonna be the best told story, I think. Maybe, in my opinion.
I think the Bucks are gonna win, right? I mean, that seems like the natural outcome here.
That's what I figure too, because I mean, I don't look at a duo of two singles guys being champions that long. I think it was just a nice transition to get the Bucks in there, because again, there's been that hostility for how many months?
Yeah, that's right. I think you're bang on with that. Yeah.
I mean, because if the Bucks had beaten SCU, it still would have been pretty cool. But to have like the extra story arc to it, and whether or not it means Page does something now or Omega does something, even goes as far as turning heel as the Exalted One, like my theory keeps thinking about. You know, at least it opens the door that because of a loss to the Bucks, something might open up. And I think, too, there is a story out there that the Elite starting to break apart can happen. And I think if they hold it too long, because they've been Elite for so long, people think, well, it's only been like 6 months on AEW television. That's not the point, though. They've been the Elite for years.
Through Japan.
And anybody who watches AEW probably knows this.
Right.
Yeah, I have an inkling of it. So being only vaguely.
I'm not opposed to the idea of the Elite starting to show cracks, because at the same time too, in my opinion, face factions aren't really a good idea, because faces are never supposed to have the numbers game.
Right.
Or you don't need it. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, it's gonna be a stupid, goofy match.
I think it'll probably be the best match on the card, right? I mean, how can't it be?
There's a good chance of it, yeah.
And you know what? Like, I'm kind of like, it's kind of catharsis for the Bucks because all this best in the world, but are they anymore? Because they're getting beat all the time, whatever. It'll be nice for them to have the belts for a little bit, even if it's only a couple months.
Well, it means it puts a clincher to that story of them not being the best in the world, and maybe Kenny looks at that being like, oh, they got to where I wanted to be. And then it could, because that also could send him in a spiral too. Now with the jealousy coming in, being like, they got their redemption, I still need mine.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And we can also assume that too if Jericho actually retains, which we'll get to in a moment. But before we get to that, we have MJF and Cody. I'm actually assuming MJF is going to win, because I think it's too easy to assume Cody wins.
I think he has to. I think he has to. You saw what it did to Sean Spears' heat when Cody beat him. And I get that was early days in the company and Cody needed the wins too. But
not to mention, Spears straight up says like it doesn't bug him at all. He's more just happy that he gets to do whatever he wants, so he's not hurt by it.
But MJF is going to be your world champion at some point. He's the best heel you have now, let alone like a couple years from now. He's a megastar.
You just can't have him losing his first big feud.
No,
you can't have you can have him lose to Cody down the road. And in fact, I think that MJF finally losing to Cody is going to be what gets Cody out of his I can't challenge for the title step.
Yeah, or he beats him for the title.
And I think they'll slow burn it.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
This is a story they can do for a year plus and just keep coming back to it. Like, they can go away, Cody can have somebody else he's busy with that's just interrupted his flow of things, and then come back to be like, okay, no, I'm not done with you.
Yeah. Right. But no, that was what I was going to say too. I'm in 100% agreement with you on that. He has to win. You know, he'll cheat, whatever, who cares? But he needs it, and I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a phenomenal match. Like, the psychology, I am so excited. I'm thinking about it now. It's 6 days away. I'm thinking about seeing the two of them stand in the ring. And this, like, there was a similar stipulation in 2001 between Triple H and Austin before the 3 stages of Hell match, where they couldn't touch each other for a month before Austin would lose the title shot. And then when they finally got there, right, there was just so much hatred, so much build-up. Yeah. So,
that's adorable that you think they're going to stand in the ring at the beginning of that match. You know MJF is diving out of the ring immediately. Cody's going to try to run him, and MJF is just going to run away and just make this take. I wouldn't even be surprised if it takes them 5 minutes after the bell rings for the first punch to be thrown. Yeah. Like, MJF is going to stall as much as he can.
Mm-hmm. And do duck and run and try. Yeah, that would be good too. I mean, that would also be, from a psychological standpoint, a good tactic.
Like, let's say the match is 20 minutes. I would want them to do 5 minutes of the first 5 minutes of a 20-minute match just be MJF not touching him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just running away, cowering. Cowering. That's a word, right?
Cowering? Yeah.
I don't know. Word. Yeah. How's that Bastion English working for you?
That's funny. Go speak French if you'd like.
I wish I retained some of that. I mean, Liam might be better off. He's closer than I am to the border.
I can't say that word. That's so weird.
It's the best.
Cowering.
Yeah, there you go.
Dude, you should. If I talk alone when I'm recording something for more than an hour, eventually I will flub English super hard because words just become too hard after so long.
Yeah, I sound like I'm having a stroke right now.
It's the upside of having you guys here. I can stop talking enough just for my brain to recollect itself. Be like, oh yeah, that's what words sound like.
That's really funny. Yeah.
Me fail English. That's impossible.
But yeah, last but not least on the card, and this is actually the only one that I have trouble figuring out, and that's Jericho and Moxley.
Damn.
Because I honestly sit there, and I think that there is no bad answer, and I have a full list of reasons why Moxley should win the title, and a full list of reasons why Jericho should still retain.
Yeah.
And it's one of those weird cases where it's like, man, I actually don't know. I might flip a coin on Saturday next week just to decide who's going to win.
I won't be mad either way. I mean, obviously, as I've said before, I'm a big Jericho mark, so obviously I'd be happy to see him keep being the champion. But Moxley would be a kick-ass champion too. I think it'll be a good match. I think Jericho's going to retain with interference, is my thought. But
because the question then becomes, if Jericho wins, what happens? Do we push for Page or Omega, depending on what happens outside? Because assuming they lose to the Bucks, which we're all kind of unanimous on, assuming they lose to the Bucks, that frees them both up potentially. So what do? Do you have Omega do his redemption? Do you have Page do his redemption? Or hell, do you have Moxley build up to 6 months later getting another crack at it?
Right, that's kind of what I was thinking is, if, like Liam said, if there is some type of outside interference, which is something that I was kind of thinking about too, you could very easily, have that be the case that Moxley goes, you didn't beat me fair and square, I don't know if it's no DQ or whatever, or, it's just...
Or another way.
I think it's just a regular match as far as we know.
Yeah.
Some type of stipulation. But in theory, if they do have another match, he ensures that there's Steel Cage, their version of a Hell in a Cell, whatever it is, that you ensure that Jericho cannot fuck him over again, and that this match he's gonna ensure.
Because you got to keep in mind too that at this point on the card, Pride and Powerful will have not had a match, so they'll be more than fresh to help out Jericho if that's the case.
Right.
Because Sammy might be dead after his match with Darby. Hagar might be incapacitated to some extent, but probably not.
And maybe they do that storyline during the night, right? Where those guys get wiped out in ways that, oh god, they're not going to be there to help me when I need them at the
right.
Honestly, if they try that, if they have if we go to the back and Pride and Powerful are taken out, my money immediately goes to Jericho retaining, because Jericho has to have at least one retain where he does it on his own too.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, too. If they suddenly take out all of the inner circle, it's going to make you think, oh, Moxley's going to do it. And that would immediately make my brain think the opposite.
We'll have to see.
Like you said, no bad ending for it. I'm excited to see them. And I've never seen them wrestle because I think they did when he was Ambrose against Jericho. I think that maybe happened a couple times.
They've had a couple of matches. They had like a really goofy steel cage match. That's kind of the shit that Moxley kind of distanced himself from WWE because of. Mitch the Potted Plant.
Okay. Yeah, I heard him talking about Mitch the Potted Plant on.
It's just one of those things where the history is there, and obviously they've talked to each other a lot since. I think Jericho was a big part of how Moxley was convinced to come to AEW anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yeah.
So I can imagine with these two guys in the ring, Jericho being a master at what he does, and you have Moxley in there who is super over with people and looks like a rabid fucking Wolverine right now. My only question that remains is, should the eye patch still be on him by the time the pay-per-view comes up? My answer is the eye patch needs to go.
He could take it off like in the match, like make it a spot at one point, right, where he just he yanks it off or whatever.
Or you can even do it during the weigh-in, which is also possible. But yeah, I just can't see him wrestling a main event caliber match like that at the end of a show with one eye. It's just not a good idea.
Yeah.
Or you do it where they do it as part of the psychology. Jericho rips it off and then works the eye during the match. And that's what puts him at a bit of a disadvantage. But yeah,
that's actually true. That they could do that.
It's going to be a good pay-per-view, boys.
Yes, sir. I'm excited. We'll definitely have our thoughts in our reviews and our opinions on the next episode. I'm very excited to be able to talk to you guys about all that.
It sounds like a good place to kind of cap it off. So
sure.
Before I say that, though, any last thoughts before we go into Revolution? Because this will be the last time we talk before that.
Very excited. I think it's going to be a great show. They've really been building a lot of this up for quite some time now, and I see this show top to bottom. I don't really see a weak spot. There's not a match where I go, okay, well, maybe that's a pee break. As it were. So yeah,
I think we still have a couple matches to go, but I mean, realistically speaking, what we're pretty much guaranteed to see, we know that the second those matches are on, we're not getting up.
Yeah. Just think planted in your butt.
You got anything else, Liam?
I'm excited for the Iron Man match this week. I think that's going to be very cool, very good. I feel like Pac may go over, but otherwise it's. I'm excited for the show. Excited to have some people over, have some beers, pizza, and take it all in.
Yeah, a good time.
It's going to be a hell of a birthday celebration for me, that's for damn sure.
Happy
birthday, Adam.
Early birthday,
Yeah, that's
Adam.
right, buddy.
Yeah, after Wednesday I'll be 32, so I'm finally at the point of almost accepting my 30s now.
There you go.
I'm 20, so I'm almost accepting I'm not a teenager anymore.
My 30th is.
Oh, believe me, I'm about to turn 32. I still think I'm 18.
Yeah.
My mind is not geared any differently.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go.
Well, that's reassuring, I guess, for me.
The difference between 18-year-old me and 32-year-old me is 32-year-old me has at least fucked up twice financially, so he's learned those lessons. 18-year-old me didn't get that. That's about it. But the entire mindset's still the exact same.
Right.
I mean,
That's
hell,
good,
I still
guess
watch
so.
wrestling, play video games, and watch anime. So clearly, I haven't aged out of anything.
You're never too old for those things, baby.
Yep.
That's what I keep saying.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. My 30th is coming up on March 24th, so I'm kind of staring it in the eye.
Oof.
But,
You're dreading that now.
I think it'll be fine. I don't like you said. I don't feel like I'll feel much different after it, but it will be the turning.
Well,
of the page.
30 and 31 have been weird for me because I've always looked at 30 as like the age my parents were. So when I finally hit 30, I'm like, oh, now I know I'm definitely getting old because now I'm at my parents' age.
Right.
Yeah, I hear you.
So it's a little bit of a different
that would be
outlook.
Weird. Yeah.
I mean, in my 20s, I still think I'm pretty young, and now that I'm 30, also my metabolism's kind of slowed down since. And now I'm looking at myself in the mirror, being like, "Yeah, I'm definitely aging."
Yeah, the McDonald's and the late night McDonald's and the beer hits harder than it used to, for sure.
Dude, I used to be able at like 16 to eat a double quarter meal with another extra double quarter and not gain a fucking thing. So believe me, I'm missing those days.
Yeah, my metabolism's almost too fast, so I do wish I could buck up.
I was gonna say, you want to share me some of yours then?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll wire transfer you some.
Sweet.
Tune in
All right,
next week when we review Revolution and also continue to ponder the existential questions of getting old.
Well, I mean, you and me at this point. Joe's still in the happy place.
I'm a child still. Yeah.
Stay young forever, my boy. It's the only advice I can give you.
All right, then. Well, thanks for joining me, you two, and thanks for whoever's listening in. So we will see you on the next one where hopefully we're going to be talking about how we might have had the best pay-per-view since potentially Double or Nothing, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think about in terms of that, but it sounds like we might have one of the best shows ever coming up now.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Very excited.
Talk to you guys next week.
Yeah, we'll talk then. There's a good conversation. Cannot wait for AEW Revolution.
Oh jeez. Oh jeez. I'm imagining some like crazy like punk rocker weirdo just being like Revolution.
Revolution is coming.
Oh boy. Well, let's just hope there's no live music. So, with that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining me, and thanks so much for listening, everybody, and we will see you next week. Cheers.
Bye bye.
Peace.